Hi everybody, it's Manga Mike here. Welcome to another live video. And in today's video we're going to make the side view of the character that we were creating from the last video. Sorry the other half of the Manga Mike crew isn't here, but I did need to get this video out as soon as I possibly could. I wanted to make another video for this week for everybody who's watching. So let's get started, I guess. So when you're doing a character turnaround and you want each view of the character to look consistent and look like it comes across as the same character, this is what you go through. First, you draw whatever view you like drawing the most. I prefer to start with the front view. First you draw like the front view, for instance, and then once you get that and you make it look like you want it and it's acceptable to you or for whatever your purpose is, then what you do is you're going to go ahead and make these lines like I did, right? So you have a line right here that is the top of the head. You have a line for the bottom of the head. You're going to do a line for the mouth right in the middle, the bottom of the nose, the bottom of the eye, the top of the eye, and then the eyebrow. You can also do lines for the ears, but I'm going to be a little bit lazy in this video and not do that right this second. So that is, oh my gosh. McAfee, go away. Go. Alright, so that is what you're going to start with for your character turnaround, okay? I'm going to actually do this side view over here because I want the 3/4 view to be in the middle so it really does look like the character's turning around. Another important thing, though, before we get started with the drawing, when you're doing this kind of view, or like a character turnaround, for whatever reason, if it's not looking like it's being consistent, what you also want to do is make a list, right, of different character traits that this character has as far as like their facial features and things like that. This is really going to help you when you start doing more difficult angles, like the angle that's like slightly above the shoulder but going down, the angle that's not quite 3/4 but also not quite side view, the angle that's the ant view angle where it's like from the bottom up and you can kind of see the bottom of the character's chin. I'm not going to go into that detail for this video. That'll be a different one, but just make a list, and in this list what you're going to say is like character has a mohawk. Character's eyes are what? Let me see here. His eyes are slightly above halfway point of his head. Stuff like that. You kind of get the picture, but those are the things. Like for this one, again, like character has small ears, big eyes, stuff like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to help you keep your character consistent. Is it going to be perfect every time? No, but you want it to at least read as the same character. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, when you're beginning, and I even still do this, and I would still consider myself a bit of a beginner, you want to look at a reference of like actual anatomy while you're doing your side view, 3/4 view, and front view. So right now in my lap I actually have a reference of side view. Now I might end up time-lapsing this a little bit just so that the video goes by a little quicker, but I'll come back to explain, okay? Alrighty, so I'm just kind of doing the general guidelines right now, and what we want to do now is we're going to start placing the facial features, kind of like, if I can talk, like slurring my words, sorry. Oh boy, it's been a long day already. So I'm gonna start placing his facial features onto his face so that we can start to really define them and stuff like that. Don't try to go in there and start doing the details and things like that at this point, because you just need to place them. Another way to kind of signify where the eye should start, at the very least, is where your mouth ends, is where the eye starts some of the time. You might want to go slightly in or slightly out, depending. And this one, I think I'm going to actually go slightly out into like this range right in here. And that might even be a little bit too far. So yeah, just play around. Yeah, that's a little too far for me, I think. So maybe it should be right in here. Nope, too far in, I think. Let's do like right here. And just play around with it, right? Look at your reference and try to find something that, fits your needs or your desires. That's based off of real anatomy. So you see that I was starting to draw the eyebrow way too high. That's why we have the lines. So his eyebrow is like right in here. Alright. And that's something else that's important to note with the placement of the eye. That's the one tricky thing about the side view. So, his eye, right, shouldn't be too far away from the eyebrow. So I think that this line right here is probably the closest that we were going to get. So let's maybe make it like that. All right. So ear placement. Now, ear placement's a little, I've always found it to be a little bit easier. Is a lot of people just have this jawline that's coming up. They somewhat have the ear almost connect to that. His ears are smaller, right? So we're going to actually connect it, not even connect it. We're going to stop it right in, it might be a little too small, right in here. And this is another thing. If like you feel like the ear's too big or too small or whatever, then we go back and we do the line, right? We come back through here and do this. And I was making it a little too small at first, right? So now we're good. All right. So that's what we got going on with the main features. We can also do the hair, and the hairline is another big one. You want the hairlines to be consistent too. Oh, that's too low, huh? So his hairline's like way up there, which I probably should drop it down a little bit, but we'll just stay consistent. Oops, gotta use my pencil. So it's right in here, and we're going to have it come down to here, come out. I'm also noticing that his head is a little not quite coming out far enough, and I didn't really leave myself enough room. So that's what we have for the very rough stuff. So I'm probably going to go ahead and put this into time lapse after I do his mohawk. And now we're going to go back through and we're going to kind of finalize these details, and I'm going to put it into time lapse, maybe correct a few things. It's okay at this point to correct, right? If you think it looks funny in the side view, feel free to go back through and just change it up a little bit, right? And then you go back and you change up the front view as well. That's perfectly fine. That's part of the artistic process, right? You got to, trial and error. Everything has to look right for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put it into time lapse, and we'll come back and I'll kind of explain everything again, okay? So I actually want to stop right here and kind of explain what just happened. So with the lips, the side view of the lips, hopefully you're using some reference. Lips kind of have, usually, unless, you want the character to look different, usually your top lip is going to protrude out slightly further than your bottom lip. And then you have this like little swoop. And this is how I like to do the chin. There's many ways of doing chins, and I'm taking that from reference, so I feel that it's fairly accurate, but maybe not. I don't know. And then for the eye, so the eye in the side view, you're essentially looking at. Let me go to this layer. You're essentially looking at this part, right? You can't see any of this part of the eye. But as you know, eyes are round, so you have this like rounded effect right here. And then when you're adding the iris, let me see how I drew the iris in the first one. When you're adding the iris, now you have this also like rounded effect, right? And then your pupil is also going to appear a little bit more flat than that. God, he's creepy looking right now. Sorry, guys. All right. So, yeah, that's essentially what the side view of the eye is going to look like. Let's kind of peel this off. That's not too bad. Now, again, you don't want to... Here we go. You're going to want to kind of thicken it up. And now for some details, you add an eyelash right here. Right at kind of the end right here. You're going to darken the top again. Leave a little bit of an opening in manga. Things like to kind of breathe. So that's a good place to have an opening right in here. And now you're going to want to take and go ahead and apply your like glare, because eyes do tend to reflect, right? That's way too small. So eyes tend to reflect light very harshly. So you're going to want to add a glare there, and you can add multiple if you'd like. That it's endless, pretty much. And then if you wanted to do shading, for instance, you could apply some shading right in here. Your shading for the iris is always like that. This part of the eye right here tends to almost always be darker because your eyelid's casting a shadow. Okay? So that's that part. Now for line weight, again, you want this part to be thick. Maybe this part. This part down here could even be thinner than what I just did. Around the iris should be fairly thick. The pupil should obviously be nice and dark, unless you want to have some kind of goofy little effects, like maybe he's fainting or something like that. And now some more detail is you want to go ahead and add this, right? The eyelid. So eyelid actually kind of comes around like that. And I might have did that a little too high, sorry. And it doesn't connect, right? There's no connection right here. It just kind of tapers off. Again, I'm just looking at my reference as I'm doing this. And all faces are different too. That's another important thing. All faces are different. And remember, it's going to come down to right in here. I'll add details to the ear later. But you get the drift. So you just go back through and you continue to refine things. But the structure, the main pieces of the pie are already there, right? And now you just need to go back through and finish up. Hey everybody, sorry about all the time lapse. There was a lot of things in the video after I went back and looked through that I didn't want to keep in there just because it was extra details and I didn't want it to be too long. But I did want to show you the finished product. It honestly didn't take me too much longer afterwards to get to this like refined form. Probably another like 10 minutes afterwards I was able to do this, and I was pretty happy with it. But as always, like, share, comment, and I'm Manga Mike.